In the land of Moesha, there's always drama never too far away. By the start of Season 3, Moesha managed to get herself a one-way ticket to a new private school, getting grounded for leaving her new school on the first day mid-class session, and grounded again for crossing the border to Tijuana after her and her friends left SeaWorld. And if Moesha couldn't imagine things getting worse for her, she was about to find out in the episode titled Body Language. The episode starts with Moesha, Kim, and Niecy playing a friendly game of Truth or Dare. When it's time for Moesha's turn, Niecy asks Moesha if she's ever kissed Hakeem. Moesha tells them that she's kissed him several times on the cheek. Niecy clarifies that she's referring to them kissing on the lips. Moesha quickly shuts down and asks for a dare instead. Kim challenges Moesha in her delusional fashion, suggesting that Moesha was the other woman when we all know Hakeem never wanted Kim. The girls get sidetracked when Miles is heard laughing at them from Moesha's closet. He walks in and frees the girls from Miles, but not before telling Moesha that she needed to start dinner and finish the laundry. Moesha then vents to her friends about how glad she is that today is her last day of being grounded after her impromptu trip to Tijuana. Niecy and Kim talk about how easy they have it because Niecy's family was so big, they didn't even know that she was gone, and Kim only had to braid her mother's hair. It's funny hearing that Nikki only made Kim do her hair because in the Parkers, Nikki wasn't hesitant on getting her belt or threatening Kim with the belt when she got out of line. Moesha tells her friends that her parents are always treating her like a baby and that they can't see that she's grown. Niecy half jokes and tells her she's not grown, but that she's tall. As Moesha leaves to make dinner, Kim stops her and tells her that they haven't finished the game. Kim demands that Niecy give Moesha a good dare. Niecy is reluctant to give Moesha her dare because she thinks she'd be too scared to do it. Moesha wants to know what the dare is, and Niecy reveals that the dare is for Moesha to get a tattoo. Moesha immediately shuts the idea down, telling Niecy that her dad would kill her. Niecy applies peer pressure, telling Moesha that she never does anything because she's too scared of what her daddy would say. Moesha says that she's not afraid of her dad and that she can do whatever she wants. Kim tells her to do it, and Moesha agrees, but only if Kim and Niecy will do it with her. Kim says that she doesn't want to do a tattoo, but she will get a piercing, while Niecy vows that she plans to do both. The ladies agree to go tomorrow, and Moesha's dad breaks up the party, telling Kim and Niecy that they have to leave because visiting hours were over. I have to say that Frank and Dee were pretty fair in their punishment, allowing Moesha to still see her friends when they could have easily not allowed her that much. I mean, she did go to another country without her parents' permission and then tried to lie about it. I most likely would have grounded my daughter too. The next day, the ladies arrive at the tattoo parlor. They scope out the place before seeing a white guy screaming and running for his life out of the shop. Niecy expresses that if the white people are running, then it's time for them to run too. But before they can leave, the tattoo artist stops them and introduces himself as Marquise. He asks them if they wanted to be adorned, pierced, or inducted. None of the ladies answer, and instead Moesha asks if the large guy that ran out was adorned, pierced, or inducted. Marquise explains that the he was a she, and that her reaction was simply a result of her reading their price list. Moesha tells him that they're just window shopping, and Marquise explains that if they did decide to get any service, that they would need to be 18 or older or have parental consent. Moesha asks what if neither applies, and Marquise tells them he would need cash. Marquise summons another tattoo artist named Dana from the back, and Moesha convinces Niecy to go first since Dana seemed a bit too happy to have first-timers in the shop. Moesha tells Marquise that she wants to get a tattoo and asks if it's painful. Marquise replies that their motto is pain is relative. In the next scene, Moesha meets Kim in the lobby area as Moesha expresses the pain she just endured. Kim concurs, telling her that she saw the white light and heard her ancestors calling her. Kim then asks to see Moesha's tattoo, and Moesha shows her her new tattoo of a rose on her stomach. Kim asks what is it, before Moesha points out the obvious. Kim tells her that maybe when it blossoms, it will look better, whatever that means. Niecy walks out and compliments Kim on her hoop nose ring. Kim replies that she plans to get the other side pierced too. After Niecy compliments Moesha's tattoo, she asks the girls what they think of her piercings. Moesha and Kim are confused as to what she got done, and Niecy tells them that she got her ears pierced. Kim asks what happened to her tattoo, and Niecy tells her that they didn't accept layaway. Kim confronts Niecy about the fact that she and Moesha experienced actual pain while Niecy took the easy route with getting her ears pierced. Niecy replies that pain is relative. Honestly, Niecy is that friend that will hype you up and do the most, pretend like she's down to do it, and then do the least when it comes time to it. In other words, she's a coward. The ladies then visit the den where they greet Hakeem, who's working part-time for Endel making smoothies. Moesha shows Hakeem her new tattoo and he immediately shuts it down, telling Moesha that if her dad found out and knew that Hakeem knew about it and didn't tell him, that he would have to find another place to eat, sending her and the girls to their table. Moesha tells her friends that she's not hiding anything and that it's her body, her tattoo, and her life. Niecy mocks her by referring to her as Janet Jackson, referring to her control era. Moesha shows her tattoo to Endel, who questions if getting the tattoo is painful. Kim chimes in that her nose ring was painful, but worth it before the ring falls out of her nose, revealing that it's actually a clip-on, which although hilarious, is just trifling behavior, like Niecy did with getting her ears pierced. When Moesha comes home, she shows Dee her tattoo and Miles tells her that she was going to get in trouble with their dad when he got home. Moesha asks Dee if she likes her tattoo and Dee replies that it looks permanent. Moesha thanks her before nervously walking away. Miles asks Dee if she plans on letting Moesha keep the tattoo. Dee asks Miles what he suggests that she do about it and Miles claps back that they have laser surgery now. Frank comes home and greets the family and Miles can't wait to let him get in the door fast enough before revealing that Moesha had gotten a real tattoo. Frank is surprised and confused by the news while Dee nervously smiles in confusion. Frank talks to Dee asking her where he went wrong with Moesha because he can't believe that she got a tattoo. Dee tells him that he didn't do anything wrong and that sometimes kids just do silly things and that they do certain things in order to find themselves. Frank expresses that Moesha is the same person that she's always been, which is his daughter, and that if she hadn't figured that out by now, she wasn't going to know it by defacing her body. Dee tells him to let it go, which Frank agrees to for 2.5 seconds before asking where Moesha was so he could confront her. Dee tells him to calm down and that confronting her would only make Moesha want to act out even more, and that it was a fad that would pass. Frank tells Dee that she said the same thing when Moesha wanted braids, but that he was still paying $100 every time one popped out. I never realized how cheap Frank was until rewatching the show as an adult, but we'll get into more detailed examples of his cheap behavior in future videos. Dee tells Frank that if he acts like it's no big thing, then Moesha will. Frank doesn't understand how he's supposed to act like it's no big deal, and Dee gives him the silver lining by revealing that the tattoo was on her stomach, so nobody would see it besides her. Frank reluctantly agrees to do it Dee's way and promises to try to play it cool. During dinner, Moesha serves her dad seconds and he heartedly agrees, expressing that he could get used to Hakeem being away working 2 jobs so that they could actually have more food for themselves. Miles, being the messy child that he is, asks Moesha how she spent her day. Moesha tells him that it wasn't his business, but proceeds to quickly tell the family that she went to the mall and the den and got a tattoo. If Frank wasn't trying to play it cool here, then he was failing miserably because he was clearly pissed off. I don't know if he was more mad at Moesha or Miles for always being a snitch, but if I were him, it would be both. Miles jumps up and tells them that it was regulator time. Seriously, this kid has no chill and is always instigating something. Dee knows this too because she replies that if Miles didn't sit down and finish his dinner, that she was going to regulate him. Miles does what he's told and Moesha nervously walks over and asks her dad if he would like to see her tattoo. Frank wants to cringe so badly but ultimately plays it cool, telling her that it was nice but that she needed to put her blouse down before she caught a cold. Dee tells Mo that she's heard that getting a tattoo was painful, but Moesha tells her that pain is relative. Frank then asks Moesha if the tattoo is permanent or if it could be washed off, like right now. Dee tries to interject by offering Frank more string beans, but Frank was not having it. Moesha tells Frank that she can't wash it off because it's permanent. Frank tells her that if that's the case, she'd better take care of it because he wouldn't want her to get a nasty infection. Moesha remembers that she has to apply cream to her tattoo and asks to be dismissed from dinner, which Frank plays along with, allowing her to leave. Frank asks Dee if his reaction to Moesha's tattoo was cool enough for her, and Dee replies that it was the epitome of cool. The next day, Moesha visits the den and sees Kim and Niecy. Niecy tells Mo that she arrived just in time because they were about 5 minutes away from planning a memorial concert on her behalf. Moesha asks her friends why they were acting like her father was Joe Jackson, and honestly, Niecy has a point. Frank may not be Joe Jackson, but he certainly doesn't always handle things with Moesha in the best way. Moesha tells her friends that her dad's reaction was simply to not let her tattoo get infected. Niecy and Kim ask Mo if that's the case, then why hasn't she shown off her tattoo yet? Moesha expresses that she doesn't have an outfit to wear with it yet, and Kim suggests she design something for her. Moesha declines, but the three decide to hit the mall to find something instead. In the next scene, Moesha arrives home with her new outfit and greets her dad and Miles as they play a game of chess. Moesha asks if her dad planned to let Miles beat him in the game, but as Frank replies to Moesha, he's caught off guard by her outfit. Shocked and livid, Frank gets up out of his chair and tells Miles to leave and go to his room. Miles wants to argue, but Frank, as usual, is over it and yells at him to leave now. Concerned and scared, Moesha tells her dad that she hopes he's not upset about her buying a bag full of clothes because they were on sale. But Frank is not upset about what's in the bag, but rather what's on her body. Frank asks Moesha if she left her mind where she left the rest of her clothes. Moesha explains that she's wearing a midriff and that all the girls were wearing them. Frank fires back that he guesses all the girls were mutilating their bodies too. Moesha tries to lighten the mood by making a bad joke, saying that one person's mutilation was another person's art. Frank is not amused and continues to give Moesha the stink eye. Confused, Moesha tells her father that she doesn't understand why he's upset because he knew that she had gotten a tattoo yesterday. Frank explodes by losing his ever-loving mind and tells his daughter that he's upset now because she looks like a tramp. Hurt and in disbelief, Moesha begins to cry before running upstairs to her room. Frank tries to apologize after he realizes he effed up, but it's too late and the damage has already been done. Frank couldn't even believe himself, but that's what happens when the mouth speaks what's on the heart. In the final scene, Frank tells Dee what he said to Moesha, and Dee can't believe it. She questions how he could do such a thing, and Frank explains that he doesn't know, but that he saw her top stop just right below her boobs, which wasn't the case, and then the tattoo carved into her stomach and just lost it. Dee asks Frank why he doesn't just go and talk to Moesha now. Frank tells Dee that he wants and needs to, but is afraid of what he might say to her if he does. This time, Dee's not having it, and Frank defends that he doesn't like that his daughter is flaunting her tattoo to the entire world. Dee reminds Frank of the time when he told her how upset his mother was when Frank's fraternity brothers branded him in college. Frank doesn't want to hear it and tells Dee that the two things aren't the same because fraternities are about tradition and brotherhood. Dee interjects and explains that it is also about wanting to establish your independence from your parents and needing to be accepted by your peers. Dee continues by explaining that although the situations were different, the needs were the same. Just then, Moesha appears in a yellow cardigan with the top underneath with her midriff in hand. Moesha gives Frank her shirt to show that she won't be wearing it anymore. Surprised, Frank finally extends an apology to Moesha for what he said to her. Moesha isn't really trying to hear it, but halfway accepts his apology. She then asks Frank's permission to go to the den, and Frank agrees to let her go. When Moesha leaves out of the door, she uncovers her cardigan to reveal another midriff expressing in her narrator voice that she decided to follow an old saying, if you can't beat them, improvise. I hate to sound cliche, but this episode was super cringe, uncomfortable, and traumatic to watch. The first red flags in this episode were clearly Niecy and Kim. It was their peer pressure that led Moesha to getting a tattoo and buying the midriff in the first place. These two always challenge Moesha to do the worst thing that they know her dad would be upset by because they're bored and they love the drama. Niecy's family doesn't even know that she exists, while Kim and her mom seem to operate as two girlfriends who happen to be roommates. Neither of them has a structured two-parent household like Moesha and essentially have nothing to lose by living out their rebellious teenage years. Which brings me to the winner of this episode, which was Dee. Rewatching this episode made me realize how bad I felt for Dee for not having biological children, which she desired, because she has the natural maternal instincts which are pretty balanced and healthy. To be able to think critically and rationally instead of emotionally like Frank speaks volumes about her emotional intelligence compared to Frank. I kept wondering how these two ended up married and what qualities Dee found invaluable in Frank, but seeing the dichotomy in their parenting skills probably makes them a great match because they can balance each other out. Now let's talk about Frank. Frank's perception of Moesha was a huge red flag and speaks volumes about how he views other women and how men view women. He's basically teaching Moesha that it's her responsibility on how young boys or men view her based on what she wears or the tattoos on her body, instead of realizing that it's the boys who need to learn a thing or two about self-control, self-awareness, and respect of women. Although I don't agree with Moesha going behind her parents' back and getting a tattoo, mainly because she's a minor, I do agree that she should have autonomy over her body and decide what's best for her. She's headed towards adulthood and farther from childhood, which means Frank should be teaching her how to make decisions for herself and cultivate an environment where Moesha felt safe enough to talk to her dad about more permanent decisions like getting a tattoo. I would rather teach my daughter how to honor herself and defend herself if and when necessary, instead of trying to control who she is because men can control how they act. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on your opinion and takeaways from this episode and what you'd like to see for future videos. And if you're looking for more content like this, click on one of these videos here.